This is the second part of our Book of Negroes recap. If you haven't seen the first one, link is in description below. But basically what had happened was, Aminata was captured in Africa. At the time, Chikura helped in capturing the slaves, but eventually became one. They ended up falling in love, and Aminata was able to escape her slave owner, and is in hiding with a free man named Sam. Let's continue. After the war, the British troops are expected to leave at the end of November, but the slaves are not allowed to leave with them. The decree even says that runaway slaves can be recaptured by their owners. Aminata's people are dumbfounded, as they thought serving in the British Army would give them freedom. Even Chikura thought he'd be free for fighting alongside the whiteys. One day, Aminata is stopped by two white men. Luckily, Lieutenant Waters saves her after hearing the commotion. Then he brings Aminata to General Clarkson, who has been wanting to meet her. General Clarkson explains that the black people who served in the British Army will be transported to Nova Scotia, where they'll be completely free. Having heard that Aminata speaks 2 African languages and can write and keep ledgers, he asks for her help in creating the Book of Negroes. The book will contain black people's names, ages, and type of service they gave to the British Army. He adds that Aminata will get paid, and their tickets are guaranteed, so she accepts the job. While sharing the news with the people in Birchtown, the conversation steers into how she first met Chikura. The truth comes out, and now they know that Chikura had helped the men stealers take Africans. They all look at her sideways. With no one stopping them, slave owners start to raid Birchtown. Claiborne is captured, so the next day, alongside Lieutenant Waters, they head to the ship to save him. Waters demands that Claiborne be released because he served under the British Army. However, the sloth-necked man in charge has proof that Claiborne is a runaway slave and that his owner wants him back. Despite trying so hard, they fail to get Claiborne back. In 1783, Aminata helps Sam cater one of General Washington's meetings. She learns that the general is against the British evacuating the slaves and thinks it goes against the treaty. Later that night, Sam is about to kiss Aminata, so she says she really loves Chikura. And when she returns home, she shows Chikura just how much. And baby, she really loves that man. As soon as possible, Aminata starts to fill the Book of Negroes, talking to her people and listening to their stories. She even meets Sanu's daughter, Aminata, a baby she helped deliver on the very ship that kidnapped her to America. She's overjoyed that she's helping with the Book of Negroes, and she tells Chikura that she's pregnant again. As for Berthilda, she refuses to go without Claiborne. So Aminata just gives her some tickets, and Sam hands her some money she can use. When the rebels march into New York, the blacks know they're running out of time. Out of curiosity, Aminata asks General Washington if the blacks will be free someday. Then she asks him that if he believes in it, why does he own slaves himself? She really gagged the future president with that one. Sam butts in, and Aminata never gets to hear the general's answer. On departure day, Aminata is chained and is prohibited from leaving because a claim against her has been made. Chikura wants to stay, but the captain explains that he won't be allowed to board another ship again. So, Aminata is dragged off the ship, leaving Chikura behind on. Sam quickly finds out what happened. In court, Aminata doesn't have any papers to prove she's free. Mr. Appleby then walks in, saying that he owns Aminata and just loaned her to Mr. Lindo. He even has papers to prove his claims. I finna slap this Appleby's greasy hoe who has aged terribly, still looking like he has morning breath. So Sam asks for more time to bring proof in Aminata's defense. The judge agrees, and while Aminata is waiting, Mr. Appleby visits her. He promises to take her back no matter what, claiming she is his property. Fortunately, Sam returns with Mr. Lindo. Mr. Lindo shows the judge the papers to prove that he bought Aminata years ago and helped with selling her baby. The judge makes a decision and tells Mr. Appleby to leave as soon as possible because he a lying ass. Mr. Lindo then announces he wants Aminata to be free, so the judge finally makes it official. However, Aminata still holds a grudge against Mr. Lindo for selling her daughter. When it's time for her to board a new ship, Aminata says she doesn't know how to repay him. But Sam has several ideas. She kisses Sam on the lips and says goodbye to him. I'm sure Sam wanted to kiss her other lips too. Aminata wants to sail to Annapolis Royal, knowing that it's where Chikura will be. However, the ship she's on will dock at Shelburne. When they arrive, she quickly realizes it's not the paradise she has expected. A man named Jason is one of the black people she registered in the Book of Negroes. He accompanies Aminata and introduces her to their pastor, Daddy Moses. The three make their way to Birchtown in the middle of a harsh winter. Aminata learns that black people basically have nothing, and some people steal to feed themselves. If caught, they are hanged. In the first month, Aminata helps deliver babies, and most of them don't live long. Despite being hungry, she can't get herself to steal. During a meeting, her people voice their concerns about their living conditions. Aminata volunteers to write to abolitionists asking for solutions, and Daddy Moses gives her permission to do so. There is tension between white and black inhabitants. The white men think the black people are taking their jobs, and altercations often occur. This sounds oddly familiar in today's America. Aminata heads to the print shop owned by Mrs. Witherspoon and asks for her letter to be printed. One day, Aminata's water breaks. Daddy Moses, despite being blind, helps her deliver the baby. She names the boy Mamadou after her father. Not long after, they both get sick with cholera. A nurse named Judith cares for them. Unfortunately, there's nothing more that she can do for the baby. After a few weeks, the child dies, and Aminata has lost all hope. Until one day she realizes she can't give up. She returns to the print shop looking for work. Mrs. Witherspoon, knowing that Aminata can write well, hires her right away. She says Aminata is one of the good ones. This white woman originated microaggressions in the workplace. After saving some money, Aminata inquires at Annapolis Royal and learns that Chikura has arrived safely. At the shop, a young man named Cummings comes looking for work. Mrs. Witherspoon explains that he'll be fed, but won't be paid for his work. So, like slavery? Cummings eagerly accepts it. Aminata warns him not to work like a slave again, but Cummings is willing to do anything to eat Jack in the Box again. Later that day, Mrs. Witherspoon's son, Matthew, attacks Aminata. Jason saves her, but ends up killing Matthew with a blow to the head. That night, the constable heads to the church looking for the killer. Mrs. Witherspoon fires Aminata on the spot and swears that she'll get justice for her son. Or maybe don't raise such a perv. Not long after that, General Clarkson arrives. He has received all of Aminata's letters. The general then announces the abolitionist plan to create a colony of blacks at Sierra Leone. He promises them freedom, but explains that if they are indentured, indebted, or enslaved, they can't go. Cummings looks disappointed since he's an indentured servant to that wrinkly white woman. Aminata is determined to leave. The general asks Aminata to be his assistant, and she accepts the job. Then she says she's still looking for Chikura, so the general offers to help her. Even though some of the white inhabitants of Nova Scotia don't like the blacks there, they also get offended when they choose to leave, proving that they always bitter. With General Clarkson's help, Aminata sees Chikura again. He promises never to leave her, and though both are devastated by the loss of the child, they're happy they get to eat each other out. Daddy Moses will make the trip, and more are willing to join. With just a little time remaining, Cummings is worried he won't be able to go unless Mrs. Witherspoon dies. One morning, Mrs. Witherspoon rants about how blacks steal jobs from the whites. This riles up all the mayonnaise to go rancid. They catch Jason working and confront him on the spot. Despite the constable trying to stop them, they end up killing Jason. Mrs. Witherspoon then encourages the burning of Birchtown. Rioters are out for blood, so Judith brings Aminata to General Clarkson. He orders her to lock the door until it's safe to go out. Through the window, Aminata witnesses Cummings stabbing Mrs. Witherspoon. That old hag had it coming. And just a few minutes later, Cummings gets killed by two white men. The next day, Aminata finds everything burnt to the ground. To her relief, Chikura is safe. On January 15, 1792, they set sail for Africa. Aminata's dream is now coming true. When they reach land, General Clarkson tells them not to go far outside the settlement area. The company has paid a huge amount for the land, so they are still technically under someone else's rule. The new colony will be called Freetown. Everyone works together to build it from scratch. On one occasion, Aminata sees some men stealers marching some captives. She tries to help them, but to no avail. Even Chikura tries to help, but the leader of the men stealers won't let anyone go. The landowner steps in to stop the fight and warns them not to interfere. Daddy Moses believes he can help, so he approaches and releases a young boy. That's when the men stealer stabs and kills him. It really be your own people. A man named Dr. Falconbridge approaches Aminata, offering to help find her village. Chikura is against this, thinking it's too dangerous. Aminata is then introduced to a Mr. Armstrong, who trades slaves. Aminata sees the slaves treated like caged dogs begging for food. Mr. Armstrong says Aminata's village is probably destroyed already. He also defends the trade, saying it's not that bad. He even mentions how healthy Aminata looks. To prove a point, Aminata shows them the brand she was marked with, adding that the slaves will experience many horrors. So Mr. Armstrong agrees to help her. Aminata then meets Ellis-Taylor, a slave trader, who agrees to help in exchange for a barrel of pure rum. As for General Clarkson, he asks Aminata to go to England with him. He says the abolitionists propose to end the slave trade, and Aminata can help by sharing her story. However, Aminata chooses to stay. Soon enough, Alassane introduces her to Ismail, who at that time has some captives to sell. Aminata recognizes that it's the man who killed Daddy Moses. She gives some water to a girl, only to be confronted. That's when she realizes they have to leave Africa after they help the captives. That night, she and Chikura decide to free the captives. Chikura succeeds, but he gets stabbed in the stomach and dies. Aminata takes the little girl, and together they run away from her captors. She falls asleep due to exhaustion and later finds herself in the girl's village. To her, it's the closest thing to her childhood home. After that, Aminata goes to England to meet General Clarkson and the other abolitionists. She gets too overwhelmed with their fugly faces and faints on the first day. When she gets up, Aminata realizes that a servant named Dante has been avoiding her. When she asks him, Dante says he was ordered not to speak with her because the abolitionists want Aminata's story to be pure and not influenced by blacks in London. So when she meets the abolitionists again, Aminata announces that she wants to write the story of her life using her own words. The group thinks she needs guidance, but she insists she's going to do it on her own. In front of the parliament, Aminata is mocked, as the opposing side thinks there is no way someone like her is capable of writing such a book. But she proves them wrong very quickly. Then she continues to give her testimony of the slave trade. People buy her book, and Aminata begins to gain more supporters. After 20 years of fighting to end the trade, with Aminata's help, the abolitionists finally win. The bill for anti-slave trade passed. As promised, General Clarkson delivers a map of Africa to Aminata, showing her where she might have been born. She thanks him for everything he did, and for a second there, I think they finna fudge. But they don't. One day, Aminata notices a man who has been following her, but when she tries to talk to him, he runs into a house. Then a woman emerges, saying she is her daughter May. May says that Mr. Lindo found out she didn't really die and did everything to find her. Aminata turns to find Mr. Lindo watching them. She hugs her daughter tight and thanks Mr. Lindo for his help. After a very long journey, Aminata is grateful she won't have to face the new life alone, because now she has her daughter with her. And that's the end of the story, a truly riveting and sad life, but one that showed perseverance and tenacity. It's crazy to think there are many stories like this that are forever lost because no one was documenting it. What did you guys think of this one?
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.